Humble and sincere greetings to you all. Welcome to, first of all, 2024. Good evening. Welcome to Live Irish Myths. I'm Anthony Murphy. This is episode, I think it's 258. I can't see. Yes, number 258. Welcome to the new year. I hope you all had a great Christmas, great solstice. Hope that 2024 brings much peace and prosperity to all of you, and of course to those war-stricken, conflict-stricken areas of the world, that we can find a way to all live together on the planet. That's a big ask, I know, but if we don't ask, we'll never get, you know. I hope you're all in good form. Sorry for the slightly delayed episode. Yeah, I was conscious of the fact that yesterday was New Year's Day, and I knew that we would be celebrating and that, pardon me, many of you would be celebrating. I'm yawning. I can't stop that. That's ridiculous. You're not paying for this. I mean the yawning. So I said, why not delay it? I am a bit. I may not sound it, but I'm actually under the weather. It seems that, according to my expert local sources, there is some sort of a bug going around. I have a chest infection and on antibiotics and stuff. So feeling a bit under the weather, a lot of coughing over the last few days, sore throat, hoarse, and all of that. But you know, says you, yeah, that's probably half the population of Northern and Western Europe at this moment in time, and probably half the States as well. We have had a succession of low pressure systems coming in off the Atlantic for the last number of weeks. The result of this is that the temperatures have been sort of during the day anywhere between 8 degrees and 14 degrees Celsius. We've had lots of cloud, lots of rain, very damp weather, very dull weather, and very little in the way of that lovely sunshine. I was very lucky on a couple of occasions recently to get some nice aerial pictures during bright, sunny, low sun midwinter days. I was hoping to do more, but our local weather forecaster here on Facebook is Louth Weather, and he tells us that our high pressure is going to dominate for the next while. So the rain that we had today is probably the last rain we'll see for a while. So fingers crossed, get out and get more photographs and captures with that drone from the air. And I hope, as I say, hope you all had a lovely solstice, first of all, a lovely Christmas and a happy new year. I was going to go back to the Joyce book, but I said, look, we've had a break and probably no harm just to extend that a little bit and have what I would call a bit of an ad hoc episode where we chat around various subjects and maybe some of you will prompt some of those conversations. I know in previous times, these haven't always worked out brilliantly because somebody prompts a discussion and I'd have to do more reading on it. So forgive me if that's the case. I have my my candle on the desk, aka the LED, the flickering LED, the lighting that I've been recently using to capture some atmospheric photographs of the various monuments. Anyway, before we kind of get going with the live stream proper, as is my custom, I have to welcome loads of people. First to comment tonight is Peter Shields, Trenonawa. Peter, watching on YouTube. And of course, anybody's watching on YouTube, I please do ask you to subscribe to the channel, ring the bell so that you get notified of any live streams and video uploads. Thank you, Peter, for joining us this evening. I'm wondering where Elaine Dent-Lingenfelter is because she's normally the first to comment. Adina Sparks is saying, afternoon, Anthony and the Tua. Happy New Year. Well, many happy returns, Adina. A pleasure to see you as always. Forgive me if I take a few drinks during the live stream now. Have I got lozenges in case I get hoarse? Have I got any sucky lozenges? Yes, I do. Yes, I do. Brilliant. Astro is here. Howdy, folks. Good afternoon / evening / morning to yourself, Astro. Thanks for joining us. Martin Hodgins saying, Happy New Year, Anthony and all. Thanks, Martin. Many happy returns. Hope it's a good one. I hope 2023 was a good one too. I mean, it had its ups and downs, I suppose, for all of us. But I have to say, for me, it was a terrific year. I don't know if you saw my New Year's Eve post on the Mythical Ireland page on Facebook, but when I actually sat down to compose that, I realized, wow, it was a big year. Lots happening, lots of milestones, and there was stuff that I had to leave out. So I hope you all had likewise, and that 2024 is even better for you all, myself included, I hope. Samantha Healy said, good evening, Anthony, and to all the Tuatha. Samantha, always a pleasure. Hope you're in good form. Desiree Riley is saying hello, happy new year to all the Tuatha. Well, to you also, Desiree. I hope you're in good form. I hope you enjoyed the Christmas. Hope you didn't overindulge. I think I did, to be honest. But I was delighted to be able to spend Christmas Day with my family and New Year's Eve as well. And we had some sing-songs and some games and a few drinks were drunk and some very nice meals were had. Our Christmas dinner was quite traditional: turkey, ham, stuffing, sprouts, roast potatoes, all that sort of stuff. Followed by sherry trifle. Yes. And our New Year's Day meal consisted of beef steak, steak and pepper sauce, with again a mixture of potatoes and vegetables, followed by meringue nests with fruit and fresh cream. Yummy, yummy in my tummy, but I weighed myself over the Christmas. I made a mistake of weighing myself. And let's just say the numbers that appeared on the screen on the digital weighing scales were higher than they've been for a while. Just put it that way. Nicola Wendt is watching from Hamburg in northern Germany. Hello, Nicole. Happy 2024 to you. Thanks for joining us. Hope you're in good form and that you likewise had a happy solstice and Christmas season and that you have a great 2024. Happy New Year to Barb Jordan. Barb, always a pleasure. I hope you rang in the new year in style and that you're looking forward to it. And I hope it treats you well. Adina Sparks. Yeah, I'm okay. I'm fine. I'm grand. I've been a lot worse. And to be honest, if I was worse, I wouldn't be doing the live stream. So I think I'm okay. And I'm not looking for the old sympathy vote. Mariana Dunn says, Bannockty and Happy New Year to the tour from sunny Virginia. Hope you have a speedy recovery, Anthony. Yes, I'm sure I will. But hey, look what arrived in today's post. Thank you, Mariana. I got your Christmas card. Yay. Just arrived today. Now, we didn't have post over the Christmas. I'm not sure. We may have had one day of post last week, sort of Thursday, Friday, maybe. So anyway, I got it. And thank you very much for your kind thoughts. And for the lovely pictures inserted inside. Brendan Byrne says, good evening all. If anyone needs extra water, we have plenty to spare in Glendalough. Well, that's very kind of you, Brendan. Do you also have a water tanker to transport said water around the country? Is the excess of water due to all of the rain that has been falling? I hope you're not flooded, Brendan. I really do. I hope you're not flooded. But yeah, I had a walk around Newgrange Farm on New Year's Eve, which was 2 days ago, and the lower portions of Newgrange Farm down along the Boyne are all flooded. The Boyne has burst its banks. Unsurprisingly, there's a lot of water has fallen out of the skies recently. Jacqueline Kelly Adams is here. Get well quickly. Illness is going around here too. It's snowing here in Columbia Gorge, Oregon. That sounds nice. And actually, I reckon a cold spell would maybe kill some of the germs, some of the viruses that are going around. Jacqueline, I think that's part of the problem here is that it's been mild and damp. Mild, yeah, not really mild, but comparatively mild. I like those frosty mornings in winter. I get some fabulous photography in the winter, and I'm waiting for them. So fingers crossed. Valentina Bernardi is saying hello from Glastonbury and Happy New Year to all. Well, Happy New Year also to our friends in Avalon. And I know that you had an issue with flooding there before Christmas because I think you mentioned it on one of the live streams, but I also did see some pictures of the flooding there. So Avalon nearly returns to being an island again. Teresa Collins, apologies for the yawning. That's just because I spent several hours last night coughing, couldn't get to sleep, had to sleep propped up, and Well, I eventually did get a night's sleep, in fairness, but yeah, probably could have done better. Teresa Collins is saying, hi, Anthony and Anna. Hope you're all well this evening. Comparatively so, Teresa. No big complaints. Hope you're in good form yourself, and Happy New Year to you. Tom King is here. Hello there, Anthony and the mighty Tua. New Year's blessings to each and all from the forge of the smooth road, Slieve Ashel. It's bitterly cold and there's lots to do. Enjoy story time. I'm glad to hear there's lots to do, Tom. Get busy, and looking forward to seeing the fruits of your labours. Brendan says, I had that chest infection also. A very hot dram with honey and cloves helps. That's my excuse anyway. Well, I actually did get a nice bottle of whiskey as a Christmas present, a Bushmills. And I'm, quite partial to the odd Bushmills or two. So, yes, I think that medicinal remedy sounds just perfect, Brendan, in fact. Porrick Byrne, not Brendan Byrne, is saying, evening all from Mount Mellick in County Laois. Oh, God, I'm sorry. Porrick, as a matter of interest, and a good evening to you, thanks for joining us. What is the nearest megalithic passage tomb to where you live? Like, if you were in Laois, where would you have to go to sort of celebrate the solstice, as it were? Is Knockrow in Kilkenny a long distance away from you, or is there somewhere more conveniently located? Saoirse Nichandal, hi to Offlin 2024 of Vashin Giev. Happy New Year. August 2 Fain, Saoirse. Thank you indeed for your good wishes. Hope it's a great year for you. And I hope it's a year in which perhaps I can learn to converse more quickly and readily Oscailga with you and with anyone else who happens to speak it. Wayne Bird says, hello, Anthony. Hope everyone is well and had a good Christmas and New Year. Are you streaming on Facebook tonight? I am. Yes. I did check. Definitely on Facebook. Yes. There are people commenting on Facebook. Can you not see it, or did it not come up for you? The thing about Facebook, they're sneaky buggers, I've noticed this. I've said it many times, but some things I post on Facebook do extraordinarily well. They get thousands of likes and hundreds of shares, and some just get completely buried. Depends on what kind of mood Facebook is in. But just because you're following the Mythical Ireland page doesn't mean you'll get notified when I go live, unfortunately. If that was the case, the live stream viewership would be much higher than it is. Like, currently there are 55 people watching, and that's on the Mythical Ireland Facebook page and on the YouTube channel. Bronwyn McCallum saying, happy 2024 all, every strength to you all. Well, thank you very much, Bronwyn. How kind. And all I can say is, apart from the yawning, please forgive me for that. I hope that will stop after a few minutes. Maybe if I open a window and let a little bit of fresh air in, that might help. Bronwyn, many happy returns. I hope it's a great year for you. And I hope to meet you on some of the tours this year. Paul Campbell is saying that the subtitling on Facebook Live works very well. Brilliant stuff, Paul, of course. Joining us from Galway, unless I'm mistaken. Paul, Happy New Year to you. Sotanar, Giayiv Nadina Bra, Happy New Year's. And many happy returns, Sotanar. Thank you for joining us. This is non-stop yawning. This is just ridiculous. Oh, I would protest if I were you. Protest. Tuesday Thompson is saying Happy New Year. And I presume the usual happy mythology. Oh, hang on. It's Tuesday. It's not Monday. Yes, Anthony, we did postpone for 24 hours. Are you like, those memes you see on social media where, those days after Christmas, you haven't a clue what day of the week it is, and you're full of cheese, That's me right now. Don't know what day of the week. Well, I do know. It's Tuesday. Ivania Lee says, Marina Borada Majanwa, you're Croaso. Morning from New Zealand. Wow. Ivania, what a pleasure. So it's now Wednesday where you are, of course, and it's Tuesday evening here in Ireland. What time is it there? Hang on, I'll Google it. Time in New Zealand right now. Oh, okay, 9:14. Oh, that's, well, in Wellington, it's 9:14. Okay, that's fair enough. That's late enough in the morning. I think I'm just going to have to go to sleep. And it's nothing to do with the company. I mean, you're all brilliant, Archaeolinguistic Adventures with, I can't read the rest, says it's Nolan is saying hello from sunny Pennsylvania. Hand pink waving. Sunny Pennsylvania. Interesting, but I reckon it's not warm. Just because it's sunny doesn't mean it's warm. But hello and good afternoon to you and all our Pennswood friends, our Pennsylvanian friends. This is relentless. I'm exhausted. Valentina said we did, and we are flooding again. Weather has been dreadful over the last week. Too much rain, and you're getting this. What's the storm's name? Hank, is it? What's the latest storm's name? You're getting lots of rain tomorrow, apparently, or is that today? Is that today? Anyway, never mind. Rowan Grove is in the house. Happy New Year to folks here and to folks not here. What about that, Rowan? Always a pleasure. Hope you're in good form. Johnny Wilson is watching from Dallas, Texas. I have great news. My daughter-in-law and my daughter are at the hospital, both having baby girls. Wow. What's the chances? Best wishes to both for a speedy and painless delivery and for years of joy and happiness and contented parenthood. Brilliant stuff, Johnny. Excuse me. What a way to start the year. Amanda Morgan is saying hello from rainy Queensland. I hardly believe it. It's raining in Queensland. Amanda, good morning to you. And welcome to the live stream. Thank you for joining us. Hope you're having a good day so far. Brendan says cold snap on the way, and they say those wonderful mother of pearl clouds might return. Yeah, saw that. Yeah, fascinating clouds. What did they call them? What was the technical name for them? Nacreous. Somebody said it was noctilucent, but noctilucent are those midsummer nighttime clouds. Nacreous clouds, yeah. Interesting. Monica Muggy Erstad says, may we all have a blessed and happy 2024. Greetings from Copenhagen. Thank you, Monica. Many happy returns to you. Thank you for your best wishes, and I hope 2024 is brilliant for all of you. Sandra Boothroyd is in the house wishing everybody a happy new year. Many happy returns, Sandra. Thank you for tuning in. And also, I think that is in Welsh, maybe, if you speak it. Brilliant stuff. Okay, that's good. Wayne had to reopen Facebook, so you obviously prefer to watch on Facebook. Tom is back at the forge after a bit of a holiday. Miriam Nutira, Happy New Year. Fresh air, actually very good for recovery. Yeah, well, I know. It's the only thing about Ireland is the fresh air is always damp air, you know. It's like you don't know what you're breathing in. You're breathing in a lot of water vapor. Hi from Wexford, says Sean Setanta DC. Happy New Year. Well, brilliant. Happy New Year. Sean, what part of Wexford? And the reason I ask is because I'm semi-familiar with a couple of parts of Wexford. And as you know, like every county in Ireland, there's parts of the county that are different to other parts of the county, you know. But Happy New Year to you. You keep making me yawn, says Desiree. Well, apparently 50% of people will. We'd had this in a quiz over Christmas. 50% of people will yawn when they see someone yawn. Anthony needs a coffee, says Nicole. A couple of espressos, I think. Yeah, and there you go. Saoirse says it. Sure, you know, yawning is contagious. I know. I apologise. I really do. The full Irish Gary's in the house. Good evening. Great and good too. Another fine day on the sod for a duck. Well, I'm glad you added that, Gary, because I could say it wasn't really a fine day. It was cloudy from beginning to end. I was hoping to get out with the camera and the drone today, and as I just looked up and went, just no. Porrigo Comiskey's in the house. Hello from Fundock. Unbelievable amount of rain last night. Think you need a hot toddy, Anthony. Yes, several people have suggested this as a medicinal remedy, Porrick. I think I might indulge after the live stream. And of course, when you say Fundock, you mean that fun place called Dundalk. Porrick, always a pleasure. Lovely to meet you at the solstice in Doubt. What a fantastic afternoon we had there. Thanks for taking the pictures, by the way. A lot of reaction to that, actually, afterwards. I don't think people realize just how small that entrance is. Storm Henk, says Valentina, sorry. Yes, Henk. It is Henk, isn't it? And a shot of Bushmills. Yes, indeed. Josie Weatherford says, Gia of a Kharja. So happy to be here with everyone here. Missed the show during the holidays. Well, you might want to watch back, Josie, and I'm sure you will. The first one we did was about Newgrange and Winter Solstice, which I streamed before the solstice. And the second one then was streamed after the TG Ceathair programme. Rún na Bóinne, Secrets of the Boyne, about the search for a possible second hidden chamber at Newgrange. So I think you'll enjoy them if you have the time. Karam Gogus is in the house. Good afternoon, good evening to you, Karam, my good friend, watching from Turkey. And I hope 2024 is peaceful, joyous, and prosperous for you in many, many ways. Porrickborn, not much in the way of megaliths and Laois, Anthony. We're fairly centrally located, though, so we can get to Loughcrew, Tara, etc., or Loughgore with a bit of driving. Yeah. It's a funny thing, you know. It's a discussion maybe for tonight or for another time, but the distribution of the different types of tomb in Ireland is very interesting. You know that almost all the court tombs in Ireland are located in the northern half of the country. A lot of the passage tombs are located again in the northern half of the country. It's interesting. The portal tombs are mostly, am I right in saying, mostly located in the west of the country. And then the court tombs. Yeah, I'll have to look at that. Fascinating stuff. We're very lucky here. I know, I'm very lucky. 10 minutes from Newgrange. An hour from Loughcrew, you know. Hello from Colorado, says Auntie Joe. I hope it is a great start to 2024 for everyone. Well, the big thing, of course, here yesterday, one of the big ceremonies, which was accompanied by trumpet fanfares, was the taking down of the 2023 calendars and the putting up of the 2024 calendars. So yes, and I say calendars plural because I have one in this room in the office, in the library, and there's one in the kitchen as well. So that's the view for January, folks. If you get your Mythical Ireland calendar on the Mythical Ireland website, the view for January is a snow-covered Haig's Cairn, the Cairn Tea at Slieve na Caille, Loughcrew, in wintertime, with the sun sort of going down behind with sundogs either side. Yeah, hope you like that. So yeah, get yours now while they're still available. Yeah, happy New Year, Joe, and thank you for all the work that you've been doing. Elaine Dent-Lingenfelter is here. Happy 2024 to you and to everyone. Indeed, yes, we're waiting for the temperature reports. Elaine, happy New Year. Helena Breen, many happy returns to you. Hope it's a good one. James Donovan says, off Liam Fui Hien is Fui Vashijiv Illa O Donor County Meath. Only out the road, James, by Kupla Mila. Literally just a couple of miles that way. Ad Astro Music is saying hello to everyone. Hope you all enjoyed the solstice and holiday season. Fantastic job with the lighting inside Doubt, Anthony. It was brilliant. I'm glad you enjoyed it. I had great fun. That was just very memorable. I did see the sun shining into the chamber, but I didn't mind. I had just so many lovely people. Just such a great atmosphere. Many dogs will also yawn when they see their owner yawning. Wow, didn't know that. Interesting. Sean Satanta DC says Rathnure and Templeludigan near New Ross. Now, New Ross is a place, Duncannon in particular, that's close to my heart. Mark Gordon says, good day from Iowa. Happy New Year. Many happy returns, Mark. Thank you for joining us. Good to see you in 2024. Hope it's a good year for you. Ballywilliam is my village. Yeah. Slieve Culture and the JFK Arboretum. Yes, love that part of the world. And, of course, the meeting of the Three Waters. John Inman is saying, Happy New Year or Hogmanay. Jolly good. I thought of you and our group while making Christmas pudding. Oh, Wexford of the Carol. A virgin most pure, the prophets did tell, etc. John, I hope you had a good Christmas. And I hope the new year brings many blessings for you. Yes, I had the calendar ceremony yesterday too, says Josie. Yes. Looking at mine now, it's gorgeous. Fantastic. Brilliant stuff, Josie. Thank you. Simon O'Tusafar says, I'm late this evening. Happy New Year. We still haven't started the episode proper. We're still saying hello. Simon, always a pleasure. And I hope you were out and about with the camera and got some nice photographs. Well, I know you were down at Drombeg, of course, over the solstice. And Scott Doherty, many happy returns to you and to Bill. Hope all in good form. 9 Celsius here at the moment. Ooh, let's have a look at what the temperature is right here, right now. I don't have my own Met station. My temperature gauge broke a while ago. I'll have to get a new one. 7. Wow, there you go. So you're 2 degrees warmer than us right now, Elaine. Sue Prenter says, Happy New Year to all. Calendar on full display. Great solstice coverage. Enjoyed it all. Yeah. And I'm conscious of the fact that being human and having other things to do, that I actually could have shared more, and I still didn't share some of the stuff I said I would share, like the ceilings, the ceiling stone in Newgrange. But that'll all come. That'll all come. Anyway, that's the comments caught up with. So we'll get launched into it. I'm going to do an ad hoc episode this evening. Maybe there are topics that somebody might prompt us to talk about. If not, I'll start. I know a very good starting place is to talk about a couple of the books that arrived into my hands over the solstice/Christmas season as gifts. I know I shared pictures of this when it arrived, but I'm currently sort of dipping in and out and really, really enjoying it. And that is Gabriel Cooney's Death in Irish Prehistory, which, although it is obviously not a joyous subject, is an incredible read. And I think this is the sort of thing that will bring great value to our understanding of Irish prehistory, from the point of view, of course, of what people did with their dead, how they treated them, how they buried them, the burial rites, and all of that. And of course, you can't extrapolate an entire notion of a people from burial practices, but you can tell a lot. And it's so far been a very enjoyable read. Really love the look and feel of the book. It's printed with these sort of washed or colorized sections. It's printed on non-coated paper. So you got these washed sections with, we call this a wash in print, in newspaper printing, or in newspaper and magazine printing, we call this a wash, where you put a color on the page behind the text. Lots of fabulous diagrams and illustrations and photographs. I just lost my placeholder because it fell out, but I should be able to find it again. Pardon me while I bend over. Oh, that's just, yeah. I'm sure lots of you will identify with that. You bend over. You get to a certain age, you bend over. It's a dangerous thing to do. Yeah, so lots and lots of really, really nice diagrams and illustrations. And as I say, photographs. There's a lovely photograph of some of the cairns at Carrow Keel in Sligo. Lovely aerial photograph. So yeah, thought-provoking stuff. Gabriel Cooney is a UCD professor of, well, he's now emeritus professor of Celtic archaeology in the School of Archaeology in University College Dublin. He's a member of the Royal Irish Academy and has served on its council. He was a founding editor of Archaeology Ireland magazine. His previous books included the great Landscapes of Neolithic Ireland, published in 2000. He is an expert member of the ICOMOS, International Council on Monuments and Sites, International Committee on Archaeological Heritage Management. In 2021, he was awarded an honorary OBE in recognition of service to heritage in Northern Ireland. And he doesn't live too far away from me, I mean. And I've known Gabriel for many a year and have always found him to be both a gentleman, as they say, and a scholar. And I wish him all the best with the publication. I have enjoyed it. I did the worst thing you could possibly do, which is so typical of me. I didn't start at the beginning. I only started at the beginning eventually today, believe it or not. I just kept seeing things that I was interested in and dipping in and out. And I already started making margin notes in pencil and have several of these sticky notes sticking out of various pages. So, yeah. Looking forward to maybe, I mean, one of the things I'd love to do in 2024 is to have Gabriel on as a podcast guest and to have a conversation with him about this book and to talk to him about all of the material that's in it. It really is. It's very comprehensive, and it feels lovely in the hand. And you know what I particularly like about works like this? Of course, he's a professor, so he has to do it right. Is the very, very comprehensive footnotes section. And the footnotes and bibliography are combined. There is no separate bibliography. So the footnotes are perhaps more detailed from that point of view. And again, they're on a wash. They're on a different coloured background to most of the book, which is, well, most of it's on white. But as I say, there are sections that are on this wash. And I just think it's beautiful. This is a book about life and death over 8,500 years in Ireland. The richness of the mortuary record that we have for Irish prehistory, 8,000 BC to AD 400, is a highlight for the archaeological record. Of the archaeological record for that long period of time. Because we are dealing with how people coped with death, this extensive and diverse record of mortuary practice is also relevant to understanding how we deal with death today, which is just as central a social issue as it always was. One of the things that really impressed me about the book was that in the footnotes, there were lots of archaeological papers and books, as you would expect, but there were also things that you mightn't just immediately expect. There was a reference to John McGahern's That They May Face the Rising Sun, which I think was his last novel. There was references to the work of Kevin Toulis, mentioned one of his books before, My Father's Wake, and about the wake tradition in Ireland. And good to see all that being acknowledged and recognised. Anna Westman, who is Professor of Iron Age Archaeology, University Museum of Bergen, says the following: a valuable and extensive presentation of death in prehistoric Ireland and beyond. The way Cooney explores long-term patterns by moving between the past and the present is inspirational. So highly recommended. I suspect that many of you will be interested in that. Let me just quickly, because I know the next question will be, where do you get it? The Royal Irish Academy website, you can order it there, and it's €30 plus postage. So I'm just going to share that link with you there. Charlie Byrne's bookshop has it. It's probably also available on Amazon, but I don't know. I'm just cautious of the fact that I know many of you have an issue with using Amazon, especially considering how their owner is a multi-billionaire and apparently treats some of his staff not very well. So yeah, Charlie Byrne has it as well. You'll probably be able to find sources for it yourself. Or, you know, what I love doing is going to one of the local bookshops and saying, have you got this? And if they have, brilliant, buy it straight away. If not, can you order it for me, you know? And keep the bookshops surviving. Support the bookshops, not the multi-billionaires who are megalomaniacs, you know? Let me just read back on the comments. Brendan Byrne says, I wonder if they went to all the trouble of bringing quartz from Wicklow for the outside of Cairn, would they not also have quartz inside so the rising sun might reflect on the crystal? It would have been amazing, yeah. That brings to mind that Tuckmark Etain mentions that Etain is in Newgrange for a time in a crystal bower. Yeah, interesting stuff. Maybe there was once quartz in there, you know. Deborah Gilbert, ooh, that book looks so pretty. Greetings from sunny Connecticut. New Year's blessings. Good afternoon, Deborah, and you're welcome. Yeah, it is. It's a very lovely book. And you know what? I really love the size and shape of it. It feels lovely in the hands. You know? And I think it's just got the right, the typography is such that it's large enough and the line spacing is good, the leading as we call it in the industry, so that, you know, you feel like you're making progress. You know, sometimes you can be a bit daunted when there's a huge amount of text on the pages of a book. There's our Al Fornox. And yeah, lots and lots of great stuff in there. The other one that I wanted to mention, that I got as a Christmas present from one of my daughters. Oh, hang on. Let me finish the comments first. Steve Martinson is saying, when you get older and you decide to sit down on the floor, you should have a plan on how you're going to get back up again. This is very true, Steve. I mean, plan A being have somebody around you who can help you up off the floor. You know, plan B being, well, is there a piece of furniture or a stick nearby that you can sort of, you know, is there something that you can haul yourself up with? Yeah, I know. Mark Monaghan says, what do you think about the possibility that the Tuatha Dé Danann actually done iron ore smelting on Slieve na Iarainn? Let's talk about that in a moment. Can't say much about it, but we have a special relationship with death in Ireland, says Brendan. Yeah, I think we sort of make it a bigger celebration than most cultures do. On Amazon via Kindle, boo, says Deborah. Yeah. No. You have to, with books like that, really and truly, you have to have the book, the printed book in your hand. You must have it. You have to. Yeah, so Mark has prompted a question there. But before we get to that, Mark, just remind me to come back to that for a moment. The other book was John Waddell's Pagan Ireland, Ritual and Belief in Another World. The reason I've enjoyed Waddell's work over the last decade or so is John Waddell is an archaeologist. He was formerly professor of archaeology at University of Galway and has written extensively on Irish archaeology. However, his work on Rathcroghan, which is a place that is like Brunabonia and Tara, etc., is as much a mythological landscape as it is an archaeological landscape, prompted him to write in 2014 Archaeology and Celtic Myth. And I thought this is so refreshing to see an archaeologist talking about myths and legends and sort of trying to draw out, well, what is there in myth and legend that can be seen to coalesce, as it were, with the archaeological record, to agree with the archaeological record. And it's really refreshing because a lot of archaeologists won't touch mythology with a barge pole. Anyway, that is John Waddell's Pagan Ireland. This is a photograph of the sun streaming into the chamber of Newgrange. This is the passage of Newgrange, the chamber just here. And this is a photograph by Ken Williams. I recognize it. I know the photo. I think it was taken in 2010. And of course, in the acknowledgements, early on in the acknowledgements, if I'm not mistaken, maybe first one to get bent. Yes, I'm very grateful to Ken Williams, who generously provided me with a number of his superb photographs. And not forgetting, Ken's photography is also featured in Gabriel Cooney's, I'm going to call him Gabriel Cooney's book as well. Several of Ken's photographs adorning that. So well done, Ken, on getting your work around so much. It seems to be these days that almost every archaeological publication I open has something of your photography in it. But brilliant and well done. Yeah, I'm just so looking forward to both of these books, which I think will help to further, well, my own knowledge, and hopefully I can process that and rewrite it and condense it into something informing blog posts and social media posts in the future, which are always, I hope, interesting to read. Rowan Grove tells us, I always check for something to lean on getting up before I kneel or sit on the floor. Hard experience, Rowan, huh? Josie Weatherford says, I wonder if the book was able to talk about some of those bones/artifacts found by certain gentlemen antiquarians in the 19th century who found so many bodies when digging around towers, dolmens, etc. Haven't got to that bit yet, so I'll have to let you know, Josie. But I'm sure there'll be some mention of that. Anthony Pyle's books around him as a crafty way of standing again. You're not wrong, Brendan, but I don't stack them as a crafty way of standing again. I just stack them on the floor because there's nowhere else to put them. Literally, that's the way it goes these days. Let me just return quickly to Mark Monaghan's question. So, I suppose the main challenge with the question, Mark, would be this. That is that you're asking if the Tuatha Dé Danann, who are a mythological race, actually did iron ore smelting in Slieve on Iarainn. And of course, well, yeah, I don't know. I mean, who knows whether the Tuatha Dé Danann are euhemerized humans, people who are once mortal humans and who, after a certain amount of time had passed, and after they died and all the rest, all these stories grew up around them, and they eventually became deified. Where is first of all, I've heard of it. Slieve on Iarainn is in what county? It's in the county of Leitrim, is it? Slieve on Iarainn Mountain is the wild and rugged mountain in County Leitrim. It rises 585 metres above sea level and is located on the eastern shore of Loch Allen. Okay, so it wouldn't be a million miles away from like the Carrowkeel complex. I wonder, probably are intervisible, both being mountains. But I know that's Loch Arrow, right? And Loch Allen is the far lake. Then, yeah, I'm just looking on Google Earth here while I'm talking to you. But pardon me, I need to go to historical imagery and find a different date. Oh, the camera keeps getting in the way of everything. Sorry, camera. Which side of the lake is it? What did I say? On the eastern shore. Oh yeah, okay. Let me see. So while I'm just talking to myself here just for a moment. So we have Castle Baldwin. We have there's Carrowkeel. Let's say Cairngee to Slieve on Iarainn. Oh, it's 26 kilometers or so. About over 16 miles. I'm sure they're intervisible on a clear day, no doubt about it. There's no higher mountain between the two, I don't think. There is an ancient legend that tells of the Tuatha Dé Danann. I'm reading this from leitrimtourism.com. The mountain is steeped in mythology. There is an ancient Irish legend that tells of the Tuatha Dé Danann, a magical race that possessed supernatural powers. Most of them were said to be godlike creatures or divine beings that were worshipped. This race was also known to believe in goddess Danu. According to the legend, they came to Ireland in dark clouds and landed on the mountains of Slieve on Iarainn, bringing with them their wisdom and skills. I didn't know that. I mean, the Laura Gawala says they landed in Conmaicne Rein. Now, I'm not sure if that is another name for what we know as Slieve on Iarainn. There certainly is a magical quality to the mountain, and walkers will stand in awe at the breathtaking panoramic views over the Western Midlands of Ireland, surrounded by the varied native flora and fauna. Yeah, brilliant. The landscape is the natural habitat of Ireland's wildlife, and there are regular sightings of foxes, hares, rabbits, badgers, and peregrine falcons. And there's a visitor centre in Drumshanbo. I just think that's one of the most beautiful place names. Drumshanbo, the ridge of the old cow. So I'm not sure if that answers your question in any way. The thing about the mythological Dé Dananns is I think that they're very strongly associated with the monuments of Brunabonia and Dagda having supposedly built Newgrange. So what I'm inclined to think is that we can't say that they are the Stone Age people, as it were, because they're clearly mythological and they're clearly like gods. But we can say that they're related. They seem to be related to those older monuments. And there is a problem in that if you were to be strictly logical about it, you have artificers and smiths, Govan or Govnu, later Govan Sayer, making their weapons and all of that stuff with metal. So if they belong to a pre-metal Stone Age day, that's one of the things that stands in the way. But I think in general, the mythology as it's kind of written down later on is written down in the milieu of the era in which it is written down. So you often get embellishments or additions to the stories that relate to the dress, the costume, the customs, the weapons, the jewelry, the modes of transport, etc., of the era in which they were written down. Actually, yeah, the dark clouds. So the thing, Laura Gawala, if you read it, and look, don't get. Let's try not to get too sensationalist here. I'm talking about all of us, not just you, Mark. I have seen many a claim on many a website and many a social media post that the Tuatha Dé Danann were aliens because they came down from the sky. But actually, if you read Laura Gawala, it's quite clear about why it was believed they came down from the sky and there was dark clouds. It was the smoke of the burning of their ships. They burnt their ships in order that they could not retreat in cowardice, that they would not lose heart in the face of an enemy and flee. So they cut off their own escape route basically by burning their ships, and this is what caused the dark clouds or the smoke. So yes, absolutely, they hid the mountain with thick clouds. Something interesting about Hog Island is one of the poetic names for Ireland because of the fact that when the Milesians were coming to Ireland, the Tuatha Dé Danann cast a spell on the land, making the mountains look like the backs of hogs, making it look like a large herd of pigs, basically. But a lot of this, of course, is fantastical and is very, very much mythological. How much of it is based on real people and real events, I suppose. We could try to extrapolate, but I think we'd have difficulty doing that. Ridge of the Old Huts. Is it not Drum Shanbo, like the old cow, no? I just read about the Slieve na Iarainn, and it says it was known for ironworks in the area. Apparently the forests nearby were felled for it. Yeah, well, of course, look, the iron belongs, of course, to the Iron Age, a later age than the Stone Age, but who can say whether the Dé Danann mythology refers at all to any particular age? Lexi says everything. Hello, Lexi. By the way, I'm not sure if we said hello earlier. Happy New Year. Everything is about aliens now. I've heard it. I've heard that about them also. Yeah. Of course, I'm clutching at straws. No, I mean, it's interesting that there's an association. Now, so that's a tourism website, right? I'm not skeptical, but I'd like to go deeper. What is the specific connection between the Tuatha Dé Danann and Slieve on Iarainn? That is what I'd like to know. What is the specific connection? Is there a specific deity? Is there a specific happening? The enchanted cave of Kesh Corran, and we have Ben Bulben in mythology, and we have Major Brilay, and we have all sorts of stuff. I'd like to have something specific. Is there something specific that connects the Tuatha Dé Danann to that mountain? I snuck in, says Lexi. That's perfectly okay. So that you wouldn't be made an example of, maybe. I joke, of course. It's always a pleasure, Lexi. You're just such a wonderful, positive person. And I know that because I see you commenting on stuff all over social media. And I just think that there's a person who's obviously just, pushed her ego out of the way and is just a nice person. Slieve on Iarainn, the Mountain of Iron, derives the name from iron deposits to be found in the rocks. This is from leitrimexperience.ie. Okay, it's trying to sell me loads of stuff. I'm sorry, but I need to find a website that has actual proper info. So that's what we need. The specifics as to what is the connection. Like broadly saying that the Tuatha Dé Danann are associated with it, to me, there has to be something specific, doesn't there? Actually, let me broaden the search. And Tuatha Dé Danann, or as some of my English friends like to call them, the Tuatha Dé Danann. Oh, sorry. Is it just that they burnt their ships there? Is that? But yeah, okay. Conmaicne Rein, which I think is spelled like this. I'm going to paste it. I think that's how it's spelled. I'm just posting. Oh, apparently, I'm sorry for the lowercase. I should have put a capital C and a capital R. Vicky Wallace Southall is in the house. Sorry to miss you guys, but I'm taking Evan to the doctors. Look like step. Oh no, everybody has it at the moment. Vicky, come here, listen, look after him. Tell him I said hello and hope that he gets well soon. All right. Happy New Year to you all. They were sent into the ground after their defeat. Yeah, well, that much we would know, Mark, from all the discussions we've had. Just trying to find which volume of Laura Gowalla is the Tuatha Dé Danann. It is part 4, I think. Yeah. Part 4. Let me just have a quick look here now. The Tuatha Dé Danann. There are 3 redactions, which means there are 3 slightly different versions of this. But I'm pretty sure it specifically mentions Conmaicne Rein. And the reason is I've mentioned this in other books. I've mentioned it in Return Segish, for instance, Conmaicne Rein, and the importance of that. Why that was so important that the Dé Dananns actually burnt their ships at Conmaicne Rein. Possibly pronounced Conmaicne Rein. Let me see. Yes. Here we go. So here's the first redaction. So just, Lexi, you'll be very interested in this, and you've probably read this before. Yeah, the best of luck at the doctors, Vicky, and hopefully he'll get some medicine and he'll be back to himself in no time at all. I'm going to read this, okay? I mean, we're having one of these ad hoc episodes, so yeah, let's do a bit of reading. This is from Laura Gawala Iarainn, the Book of the Takings of Ireland, commonly known as the Book of Invasions. This is the section on the Tuatha Dé Danann. Thereafter, the progeny of Behach, son of Iarainn, the soothsayer, son of Nemed, were in the northern islands of the world, learning druidry and knowledge and prophecy and magic, till they were expert in the arts of pagan cunning. Now, be aware of the fact that this is written by most likely Christian scribes, so they will taint it a little bit according to their wishes, according to their tastes. There were 4 cities in which they were acquiring knowledge and science and diabolism. As soon as you see that, diabolism, you know that's a Christian monk who's basically saying what they were doing was a form of pagan, pre-Christian magic. These are their names: Folius, Gorius, Findius, Murius. From Folius was brought the Leofoil, which is in Chower, and which used to utter a cry under every king that should take Ireland. From Gorius was brought the spear which Lugh had. Battle would never go against him who had it in hand. In other words, if Lugh had his spear, he couldn't be defeated. From Findius was brought the sword of Nuadu. No man would escape from it. When it was drawn from its battle scabbard, there was no resisting it. By the way, we have undoubtedly read this before on Live Irish Myths. So if you look for the episodes on Laura Gawala or the Book of Invasions, you'll find it there. From Findius was brought the sword of Nuadu. No man could escape from it. When it was drawn from its battle scabbard, there was no resisting it. From Murius was brought the cauldron of the Dagda. It's interesting. Murius, these are like Latinized Irish words. So foil, Leofoil, is supposed to be stone of destiny, but faux oil, understone, the understone. Gorius, not sure. Findius, find for knowledge, for brightness, and Murius, mur for the sea. From Murius was brought the cauldron of the Dagda. No company would go from it unsatisfied. In other words, Dagda's cauldron was renowned for never being empty, no matter how much you ate or drank from it. There were 4 sages in those cities. Morfessa, who was in Folius, and Morfessa looks like it's great knowledge. Fish knowledge, more great, who was in Folius. Estrus in Gorius, not sure about that one. Usicius in Findius, not sure about that one either, and Semius in Muriash. Those are the 4 poets with whom the Tuatha Dé Danann acquired knowledge and science. Now, here's the bit that we wanted. And so it splits into 2 columns because there are obviously 2 distinct versions of it, even in this redaction. So that they were the Tuatha Dé Danann who came to Ireland, or separately thereafter the Tuatha Dé Danann came into Ireland. Their origin is uncertain, whether they were of demons or of men, but it is said they're of the progeny of Beothach, son of Iarainn the giant. And of course, when you see that there's uncertainty about whether they were demons or men, that's literally the Christian scribe saying, we can't possibly have these as deities because they would compete with our one and only sovereign God, the Yahweh, the God who says, thou shalt have no other gods before me. In this wise, they came in dark clouds. They landed on the mountains of Conmaicne Rein in Connacht. I just want to highlight a comment by, I think it was Brendan. Interesting. Yes, I know. But remember, it's mythology. Ships on top of a mountain. They must have been spaceships. And the other column there says, in this wise they came without vessels or barks, in dark clouds over the air, by the might of druidry, and they landed on the mountain of Conmaicne Rein in Connacht. That is on the mountain of the sons of Delgage in Conmaicne Rein. That is Conmaicne Coile. Another company says that the Tuatha Dé Danann came in a sea expedition and that they burnt their ships thereafter. It was owing to the fog of smoke that rose from them as they were burning that others have said that they came in a fog of smoke. Not so, however, for these are the two reasons why they burnt their ships: that the Fomori should not find them to rob them of them, and that they themselves should have no way of escape from Ireland, even though they should suffer rout before the Fir Bolg. In other words, if they suffered rout by the Fir Bolg. So conflicting accounts, but yeah, one of the accounts does say they came in dark clouds and landed on the mountains of Conmaicne Rein, leading to a lot of people online saying, definitely they were aliens, you know. What is, just looking at the other redactions briefly. Yeah, so I'm shooting myself in the foot here because I'm only just going to prompt the. I'm not talking about you guys. I'm talking about the others on the wider internet. I'm just going to prompt further people to say, yeah, look, they're definitely aliens. In this wise, they came without ships or barks, in clouds of fog, brackets over the air by might of their druidry. And so they descended on a mountain of Conmaicne Rein in Connacht. Is Conmaicne Rein the same as Slieve on Iarainn? Yeah. According to a result here of Wikipedia, so we have to take it with a pinch of salt. Oh, hang on. Slieve on Iarainn. Historically, Slieve on Iarainn was called Slieve Conmaicne, the mountain of Conmaicne Rein in Connacht. There you go. So there's your connection. Let me see what the third redaction says. Hopefully this will settle it. The 4 cities and the 4 items they brought. Thereafter, the Tuatha Dé Danann came into Ireland. Their origin is uncertain, whether they were of demons or men. Thank you, Mr. Christian Scribe. But it is said that they were the progeny of Beothach, son of Iarvanel, the soothsayer. In this wise they came without vessels or barks, in dark clouds over the air, by the might of druidry, and they landed on a mountain of Conmaicne Rein in Connacht, that is the mountain of the sons of Delgich in Conmaicne Rein or Conmaicne Cuille. The Fir Bolg were there, and they saw a great cloud of mist upon the mountain of Conmaicne. It settled down on the mountain a day and a night. Such is the greatness of the mist that they feared greatly before it, and not a man dared to go near the mountain. They approached it afterwards on the second day, and saw the troops on the mountain after that cloud, and their number was greater than was apparent. But another company says that the Tuatha Dé Danann came in a sea expedition into Ireland, and that they burnt their ships thereafter, and that it was owing to the fog of smoke that rose from them as they were burning that others have said that they came in that fog. Yeah. Thereafter, the Tuatha Dé Danann brought a fog over the sun for a space of 3 days and 3 nights. They demanded battle or kingship of the Fir Bolg. Thereafter, a battle was fought between them, to wit, the Battle of Moytura. That's the first Battle of Moytura. That hasn't settled the matter at all. Yes, they mentioned that the space aliens of the Tuatha Dé Danann came down onto the mountains, you know. To burn your ships like that, says Brendan Byrne, would suggest death before dishonour. There was coal mines there as well. Wow. Lexi started to say something. Mountains are mountains are important in Christianity and paganism. Yeah. What's that? Mount Meru, the center of the world, you know, the holy mountain. They reckon Tara is, even though it's only a kind of a low hill in Ireland, is something similar, you know. Lucas says the burning of the ships reminds me of the Spanish conquistadors. Yeah. Many happy returns to Paul Campbell. Thank you for your 2024 wishes. Yeah. One of the other things that happened during the... By the way, if there are more questions prompting discussion subjects to talk about, please do reach out and put one in the comments. One of the other things that happened in November was, unfortunately, the sad passing of the late Martin Brennan. And I know I've spoken about this already on a live stream back in November, but just published on the Mythical Ireland website yesterday is a full obituary, which pays tribute to Martin, written by his very close friend, Toby Hall. Toby would have been one of the members of what was called Stonelight, which was like an informal, I don't think it was ever formalized in terms of, established as a named group, a gathering or a group of friends who investigated the alignments of Irish passage tomb monuments back in 1980 and the years following, including Jack Roberts and many others. Shout out to Siobhan Heffernan, by the way, who I'm friends with on Facebook, who was also involved in Stonelight back then. So if you're interested in reading that, that's on the website, on the blog. So Martin's best known book, of course, is the one that was originally published as The Stars and the Stones, Ancient Art and Astronomy in Ireland. So I suspect that, well, it's not that I suspect, I think I know, as long as some of us are spared, Martin Brennan's is a name that will be spoken for many, many years and decades to come. And that is because, despite the fact that he was not an archaeologist, despite the fact that he apparently had little or no knowledge of the archaeological facets of the monuments he was investigating, and despite the fact he was something of a maverick, he did make a substantial and massive contribution to our understanding of those monuments. Principal among his discoveries are the revelation that the sun shines into the chamber of Cairn T at Lough Crew on the equinox, something that is described over a number of pages in his book, and how the light travels across what look like they might be solar emblems. And his description of all that and his wonderful drawings as an artist. He one of the very few artists who would have drawn all or most of the megalithic art on the various passage tombs of Ireland. The alignment of Douth's southern passage to a setting sun on winter solstice. If I can quickly find that, I will show it to you. Those two being fairly major revelations. The Douth South one, I think, very important because it proved that even at Brunabonia, there wasn't just one astronomically oriented monument. There were two. And there we go. There's Douth. Douth South. A photograph shows the two stages of the moving shaft of light as it appears one day before winter solstice in the Douth chamber. The photograph above the clock indicates 3 p.m. as the light begins to ascend stone 6. So there are decorated stones in the rear of the circular chamber of Douth. A tape measure in the photograph records the fluctuating width of the moving beam of light. The photograph below was taken at 3:25 p.m. By this time, the entire chamber and side recess is illuminated by reflected light from stone 6, and the effect is dramatic and awe-inspiring. At 3:30 p.m., the light beam begins to strike stone 7, and reflected light is cut off from the side recess. At 4:07 p.m., the sun has set. Yeah, so that's a major discovery back in, I believe, it was the year 1980, after Brennan had approached the Board of Works and asked them to cut some trees, which had cut back some trees which had been blocking the view. So, Brennan left Ireland in around, I believe it was 1984, under something of a shadow. The word at the time was, look, I hope I can say this without kind of causing any too much hassle, as it were. The word at the time was that his apartment was raided. His apartment in Dublin was raided by the police, by the Irish Garda, because they they believed they would find certain narcotic substances. Anyway, Martin went back to the States, ended up in Boulder, Colorado, from where he eventually actually made his way to Mexico, which is where he lived out the last 3 decades of his life. It was Mexico where he passed away in November. I think it was the 1st of November he passed, either the 1st or the 2nd. I think it was the 1st. Interesting time of year to pass too, just coming up to Samhain, you know. Anyway, he has left a very interesting legacy, which I believe is only really starting to properly echo now, as in, you know, he... I don't think his discoveries and his theories were... It's not that I don't think, I know they weren't widely accepted. It's not that they weren't widely accepted. They weren't accepted amongst academic archaeologists at the time. I touched on this controversy in my Newgrange Monument to Immortality book. I wrote a chapter pretty much all about that. I called it Tomb or Womb. Yeah, I suppose I gave both sides of the story in terms of what the archaeologists were saying versus what Brennan was saying. That book out of print now, unavailable except for very expensive second-hand copies. But yeah, Brennan was a sort of a man out of his time, as it were, you know, before his time, basically. A very multifaceted gentleman who, as well as being an artist and a writer, taught Aikido, a Japanese martial art, trained football teams while he lived in Ireland, was a bachelor all his life, and yeah, lived life on his own terms. I'm very glad now that I put all the effort I did put in 2009 to bring him back to Ireland. That was a sort of well, the idea was that he would give a keynote presentation at a conference in his honor, and the conference was called the Boyne Valley Revision. And it's not necessarily that we were revising Brennan's work; it was more like revision, like a revisiting, a revisit to those times and to the importance of Brennan's work. Anyway, he came, and I'm glad about that now, because that was his only trip to Ireland from 1984 until now. He was only back in Ireland once, which was in 2009. And of course, if you watched that program recently on TG4 TG4 here in Ireland, it's available on the player worldwide. If you haven't seen it, you can catch up on it. You'll have seen Brennan interviewed at Newgrange, and that was 2009 when he was in the Boyne Valley for the conference. And the sole reason that interview footage exists is because he was here, as I say, at my invitation to hopefully do something to restore his reputation. Who have we got? Lucas is saying, could they have burnt the ships so that an inside faction who wanted to go back was discouraged and everybody had to fight? Possibly. I mean, there's no indication of that specifically. There's no mention of it in the myth, but I mean, yeah, could be possible. Rowan lost her sound. Going to try reconnecting. That's a good idea. Amazing photos, says Samantha. Fascinating time. The Schwaller de Lubitz of Irish archaeology. Adele Perth is in the house. Good morning to you, Adele. Happy New Year. And you're well into the new year at this stage. You're in Wednesday. We're still in Tuesday. But I hope you had a nice solstice and Christmas. And that 2024 is going to be a good one for you. Gordon A. Farrell is in the house. Fascinating, Anthony. Very moving. They just weren't. Not sure what that's about, Gordon, because as usual, comments are several minutes behind what I actually say. So he wasn't afraid to swim against the flow, says Samantha. Yeah, but the thing is, okay, in terms of interpreting megalithic art as astronomical symbolism, some of that might be obvious to some people, but it's like, yeah, Brendan was the closest I think we've gotten to a broad brush, a broad stroke at interpreting the megalithic art of Irish passage tombs. And I think some of his theories are very convincing, and I think some of them are, part of the way there. I've been, over the last year, since the program I did with Dara O'Brien about the moon early last year, 2023, I've been doing a little bit more about the Metonic cycle and the calendar stone at Nouth, for instance. And what Brennan said about that in his book isn't entirely accurate, actually, but it's incredible how close he was to working it out. In that regard, Chris Bruno, who also spoke at the Boyne Valley Revision Conference in 2009, had a very interesting presentation about how you could decipher that stone. So in time, I started work on it, but I just haven't continued it yet because of multiple other things. In time, I want to give a full description of that stone and exactly how it was used to decipher the Metonics. And back again, says Rowan. Good stuff. Samantha, everything is possible when open to discuss. Well, you have to keep an open mind. The one dangerous thing to do, and I think Brennan knew this particularly in the latter days. I mean, I saw interview footage for a program that was made several years ago in which I was featured, in which Brennan was featured, in which George Ogan, who excavated Nouth, was featured, and several others. I think Ewan Mackay was in it. I think Brennan, sort of in his later years, looked back at some of what had happened in Ireland, and he could see that it had been something of a war. He used that word, the war. And in this interview, which I think took place also in 2009, he seemed to indicate that the war was over for him anyway. He felt that the war was over. But the funny thing is, especially if you watch that T.G. Ceathair program, Rune Nabonia, and I would advise you all, if you haven't seen it, do take the time to watch it. I do get the feeling that there's a much, much wider, if not a total wholehearted acceptance of Brennan's theories, but there's a much more open attitude and a more receptive attitude to them now than there was a quarter of a century ago. And I think that's kind of probably blatantly obvious to a lot of people. Brennan's difficulty, and this is something he and I discussed during his time in Ireland. Well, part of his difficulty, pardon me, I just want to silence the phone because it's making noises here. Part of his difficulty, at least, was, well, first of all, he wasn't technically Irish. I mean, he was born in Brooklyn in New York to Irish parents who had emigrated to the United States. They were from, I'm not entirely sure. I'm not sure. I think they were from the Northwest. I think they were from Leitrim. Possibly one of them was from Leitrim. So he had Irish parents who left Ireland, again, probably in the 1930s, possibly early 1940s. But Brennan was 81, so he died in 2023. So if you take 81 off that, you get to 1941, don't you? 1942. Yeah, he was born in the early 40s. So they likely had moved as part of that movement of people from Ireland to the States that had been ongoing since the famine of the 1840s. Of course, I'm assuming here, and perhaps in time I will learn more about it. But Yeah, so I mean, saying he was not Irish is a bit facetious, you know. I mean, his parents were born in Ireland, you know. He was born in New York and he had the thick accent, you know. Um, the other thing is that, well, I've been able to compile a body of work over the past 24 years, and by and large, to retain a very good relationship with archaeologists. I don't think the same could be said for Brennan, and I think that was two sided. I think on one side there was his brash approach, and the fact that he wasn't local, as it were, and the fact that he was a brash young American, and you know, I mean, it wouldn't. Ireland, look, you'd have to understand how parochial Ireland can be and still can be, um, but you can imagine that the archaeologists were trying to protect the sites, protect their secrets so that they could reveal them. And then this brash American and his team, some of whom were a sort of American also. I'm thinking of Hank Harrison and the likes of Jack Roberts. You know, Jack has a thick English accent that, you know, some of them might have been reacting saying, who are these bunch of foreigners coming in here telling us what these monuments are about? That may have been an element to it. I've no doubt that, you know, part of it was to do with the fact that, well, Brendan was talking about things that perhaps the experts hadn't considered about these monuments, and that they didn't actually have the knowledge to talk about, which is another fact. A lot of archaeologists dealing with Neolithic archaeology in the second half of the 20th century probably knew little or nothing about astronomy, you know. Um, Mark is saying, thank you very much for your thoughts. I've been looking at the townlands around that area, and it's very interesting. Going to do some hill walking when the days get longer. Do you know what? There's absolutely nothing like putting your boots on the land, getting in touch, touching the land, and being there will help you to unravel it, you know. Adele says, Jack Roberts always comes to mind when I hear Brennan's name. Yes, indeed. And yeah, I think bringing Brennan back to Ireland sort of really rejuvenated Jack as well, I felt. Certainly something he said to me over the years. Catherine Woodruff is in chilly Wisconsin. Oh, well, I hope you're well wrapped up and perhaps you have a hot drink or a hot a dram or a hot toddy or something in the close vicinity. Anyway, that was another thing. Hope you enjoyed the podcast, the live podcast, the video of the live podcast with Moncon McGann, that was recorded during the Samhain Festival in Clonakilty. I'm very grateful to Giata Arts for inviting me to host that podcast, which was held in Debarras, a great local venue down in Clonakilty. I thoroughly enjoyed the conversation. Thought that it could have gone on for several hours, which it probably could. It's the second time Moncon and I have had a conversation. The first one was during the lockdowns when we did a live Irish Myths in Conversation episode. So if you haven't seen it, how do I click this and get the link without it actually playing out loud? Here we go. I'll paste the link in there. You can watch that on YouTube, on the Mythical Ireland YouTube channel. Hope you enjoy that. Only thing that I sort of regret about it is the fact that the questions at the end are cut out of the video because although the event was being recorded by several cameras, they didn't have a microphone that they could pass around, so you couldn't hear the question from the audience members, because there was a nice Q&A afterwards. There was some lovely interactions afterwards, but it's still an hour and 7 minutes long, despite the fact that the questions were cut at the end, you know. Yeah, Outsiders, Adele, bring a new and fresh perspective. I suppose it's just something unfortunate about human nature that we don't generally trust outsiders, or we trust them first with superstition before we get acquainted with them. Sean says, absolutely loved the live podcast. Everyone here should watch it. Brilliant stuff, Sean. That's a great recommendation. Your words now are very moving. You are deeply affected, we can tell. Yeah, it's the sort of thing that it was interesting for me, especially to be. See, I was inspired by Brennan. I was greatly inspired by Brennan's work when I wrote Island of the Setting Sun with Richard Moore. Brennan was a big influence. And so when I don't know what year it was, I wrote a letter. It must have been between 2006, when Island was first published, and 2009, when I brought Brennan to Ireland. I wrote him a letter, and I think I sent him a copy of the book. And I said, look, I just want you to know you've greatly inspired me. This is the sort of work that's emanating from what you did. But at the same time, I was also conscious of the fact that although I'm not pro-establishment in any way, Mythical Ireland has always been very independent. I wouldn't be much of a shit stirrer. I don't like controversy for controversy's sake. I don't go out to make controversy. I certainly don't set out in life to make enemies or to say things to upset people or to be nasty or whatever. So I was also conscious of the fact that, Brennan was a big influence. And at the same time, I have a lot of friends who are archaeologists. I mean, we mentioned one of a string tonight, one of those authors. People who in archaeology, who when I meet them in public or when I encounter them online or whatever, we generally have very interesting and polite and intriguing discussions, as it were. The fact that we differ on certain things doesn't matter a damn, and that's the way it should be. It's like, well, we can still have a conversation without, insulting each other. So I was conscious of that whole thing with Brennan. It was like, on the one hand, yeah, there are the mavericks and the independent writers and researchers and artists, the sort of people who were in Irish Stones at the time, which is a sort of informal, it was a Yahoo group, which doesn't exist anymore. But there was quite a broad-ranging mix of voices and personalities in there, just put it that way. And that all, I think, contributed to greater and wider discussions about all this stuff. But when I brought Martin back to Ireland in 2009, one of the things was I had hoped that it would promote some sort of reconciliation. And lo and behold, on the day of solstice at Newgrange, we got back to the visitor centre after visiting the monument. At the monument, Martin was surrounded by cameras and media, which was brilliant. It was lovely to see him getting that recognition. When we went back to the visitor centre, Claire Tuffy, who was the manager, who retired last year, 2022, so the year before last, Claire Tuffy told me, Anthony, Professor George Ogan is downstairs. He would like to see Martin. And I just thought, wow, this is incredible. George Ogan is asking to see Martin. So I won't say too much, but just to say that back in the 80s, George and Martin would not have been the best of friends, and would have been coming at things from very different angles. And I think George is probably one of those who didn't appreciate Brennan's sort of approach to things. That, Anyway, do you know what? In time, maybe the larger story about that will be told, but I don't think there's any great need to tell it now. But when I saw those two, and the photograph is on the blog post, so if you go to Mythical Ireland right now and you go to the blog and you read the obituary, if you scroll down through the photographs, you'll see, first of all, Claire Tuffy's, Martin Brennan signing Claire Tuffy's copy of the Boyne Valley Vision. And further down, you'll see a photograph of George Ogan and Martin Brennan shaking hands in front of a Christmas tree. And that was taken in the Brunabonia Visitor Centre on the 21st of December 2009. And that was the moment for me that made it all worthwhile, all the months of planning and stress of trying to get Martin to Ireland, even though he never used a computer and never had a cell phone and was notoriously difficult to contact. I'm very grateful in that regard to a good friend of Martin's, Robert Hancock, who organised a huge amount of things on the Mexican side. But when I saw George and Martin shaking hands and having a conversation, I just thought, that's it. The entire thing has been worth it now. That that was a moment for me where that was a moment of healing. That was a moment where the war was over. Basically, that was a moment where there was recognition from both sides of the fact that I think maybe I'm reading into it, but I thought it was recognition from both sides of the fact that, well, we both have something important to say about Nouth in particular, and let's bury the hatchet and let bygones be bygones. And it was just wonderful to witness, really wonderful. And I am truly blessed to have been there with my camera to capture it and to have witnessed it firsthand, but also to have actually made it happen in a way. So I really felt that was something that moved on the whole thing. And believe it or not, and in deference to Martin and in his honour, I would say that we're entering I think we're entering a period now where it's not that he was right about everything. Martin told me himself, he said, look, I think he had there were particular things in his first book, especially the Boyne Valley Revision, which he would no longer stand over. But I think he recognised also no work is a complete work. It's not like a complete answer. It's not as if this is the answer to everything. I always say that anybody who has that certainty, who says this is what it is, this is the solution, this is what it means, it's 100%. It's, I think that is where you have to step back and say, hang on, be careful that your ego isn't getting in the way here, because as much as I'm intrigued by various things, various long distance alignments in particular, and various apparent astronomical alignments, and various interpretations of megalithic art, I can't say for certain. I'm going to scroll through a few more. Northman says hello Northman, and thank you for joining us. A very good evening to you. Mark Monaghan, you can tell the legends are true because of all the stealing of cows and pigs. Well, that's why the Irish ring fort became such an ubiquitous monument in the landscape, precisely because we needed somewhere to secure our cows to stop them from being stolen. Amazing evening, says Northman. Glad you think so, Northman. And Happy New Year, by the way. Adele Perth says that podcast is brilliant. I've watched it twice. I love how you discussed the feminine and the history of patriarchy and the impact of the church. A very tasteful and important discussion. Yeah, and it didn't have to get too, I just don't like today how a lot of discussions get very angry. It's like, can we not talk about this stuff, with a measure of calmness and maturity and intellect? There's an awful lot of discussion that just descends into anger. What's that going to do? How is that going to change anything? Anyway, I'm very glad you enjoyed it, Adele. Michael Pike has joined us. Good afternoon to you, Sir Michael. Hope you're in good form. Happy New Year to you. Galactic is somebody tells me, so some people think this is like saying thank you, or it's praying or whatever, but somebody else says no, it's two people high-fiving. I don't know. And hearts and flames. So good evening to you, Galactic, or good afternoon, Lexi. Agree, nothing in ancient prehistoric art or archaeology in absolute. Thank you for saying that. The only thing, one of the fascinating aspects of Irish megalithic art is its apparent abstract nature, because and apparent non-representational. Sorry, I'm just reducing my candle. There is older megalithic art from Iberia that clearly depicts humans and animals and weapons, and then you come to Ireland and you see spirals and circles and arcs and serpentine forms and zigzags and diamonds and all that stuff, Like, my question would be, you look at Hartnett and his, I'm getting back to writing the Fornox monograph, by the way. I parked that to the new year, and I want to get back to that. I've been reading Hartnett's work again. So one of the things that Hartnett got away with was interpreting megalithic art in Fornox as being anthropomorphic. There was a goddess, he said. There was a face, he said. And you could look at that and say, well, yeah, I can see what he means, but there's nothing definite about it. And it's this is the problem. This is a challenge, I suppose. The difficulty is that it doesn't clearly represent that. It can be interpreted as that, so we can't be clear. That was the one thing I tried last year to accentuate in one particular blog post, was that I possibly did go overboard when I said that anybody who says this is the solution with certainty is a charlatan. But how can anybody say with any certainty what 5,000-year-old carvings mean when there's no way of deciphering them properly? Yeah, we know that they likely represent this, but we can't say with certainty. Sorry, I'm seeing old comments. I'm going down. Press the like button, says Gary. Yes, indeed. That always helps. Any plans for tours, site visits in the next few months, Anthony? Yes. I just haven't sort of come up with a formal schedule yet. I had 2 tours at Fornox on winter solstice that were very well attended. And feedback was great. I thought the people who were there really enjoyed themselves. I hope they did anyway. So yeah, I can tell you one thing for sure, Porrick, and that is that right now we are just trying to whittle down the dates for the Newgrange Farm Archaeological Park tours, which also incorporate a visit to the Chamber of Newgrange, by the way. So as soon as I have all those dates, I will actually be making available pre-sales of tickets for those. Now, they likely won't be until after Easter. Those tours will be between sort of April and September. They'll be in the summertime. So yeah, the advice is, as always, to keep an eye on the Facebook and the Instagram and also on the website, especially the tours page of the website for upcoming tours and events. Not everything is a solar eclipse, says Rowan Grove. Yeah, there's one individual in particular for whom everything is an eclipse. Like, I actually agree that the Stone of the Seven Suns might depict a total eclipse. It's in the mythology. I wrote about it in Island of the Setting Sun. But yeah, it's like absolutely everything is related to solar eclipses. Like, surely there were other things that they were interested in, I know that Lucas says, I know that Freemasonry speaks of an Irish mysteric tradition, mystery tradition, or esoteric tradition. There are works by both Aleister Crowley and Rudolf Steiner about this ancient tradition. Yes, I received one as a gift lately. Oh God, can you imagine? I can't remember who sent it to me, and that is Rudolf Steiner, the Druids' Esoteric Wisdom of the Ancient Celtic Priests. I haven't read it yet, so I can't comment on it. I'm always a bit wary of claims about ancient druidic knowledge when, I suppose what you have to be very careful of is there's the stuff that you can reference, the stuff that you can say in the Middle Ages. This manuscript says very specifically that yes, Druidry did this, that, and the other. But when it goes outside of that, it's the stuff for which there aren't proper sources. I get a little bit superstitious about. But anyway, that's if there's something, does anybody know if there's something actually Irish about those stories? Well, I haven't read it yet, so when I get a chance, I will maybe make further comment on it. What is the magnetic offset of true Northern Ireland? Well, Astro, it's always moving. So I remember consulting the old Ordnance Survey maps, and it was about 8 degrees. This would be about 20 to 25 years ago, when myself and Richard Moore were trying to calculate true azimuths based on magnetic azimuths. There was about 8 degrees in the difference between true and magnetic, but it is moving. Difference between true and magnetic north in Ireland. True or geographic north is aligned with the Earth's axis and points to the geographic North Pole. The axis. Yeah, this is from Mountain Trails. The magnetic variation is the difference in angle between. It varies from place to place and with time. Just trying to see if there's an angle. For example, in the Wicklow Mountains, the current magnetic variation in 2020 is 3 degrees. Oh wow, okay, that's less than I might have thought. Yeah. So apparently it's about 3 degrees right now. Well, that was 2020. Apparently, I think is it decreasing over time as well, you know. Steiner claims that Tuatha were descendants of Atlantean survivors. See, that's another one. Immediately the alarm bells are ringing. Ding, 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 ding. Anybody who mentions Atlantis is like, I know, and there's lots been written about Atlantis, and I'm not rubbishing any of it, or certainly not rubbishing all of it. Some of it is rubbish, but like, there's just nothing we can prove about that. I mean, you know, the Tuatha Dé Danann are primarily mythological. You know, to say that they were real people and descendants of Atlantean, I don't know. I think there's an awful lot of hype around Atlantis. Didn't know you were on today, says Ola. We're looking for you Monday. Nice map you made and uploaded. Yeah, I want to improve that. Don't know if any of you saw that, but I had a post yesterday on social media about what used to be the Mythical Ireland, the ancient sites of Brunabonia map. Actually, I'll share that video, so at least you can watch the video. I have to update it, and primarily it has to be updated with all the new monuments and archaeological features that have been discovered in recent years. It's just that it's that long since I made the original. I'm not really sure how I did it, so I'm going to paste that link to the YouTube video. You can watch that, and just, if there's anybody out there who has the expertise and who knows exactly what's needed, please do get in touch, because I'd like to have an updated version of that on the new Mythical Ireland website. Brendan Byrne says, if any of the Tuatha starts building strange little mountains in their living rooms after this episode, we will all get drawn to a site in Ireland. I will understand. Yeah, don't shroud it in smoke, you know. I'd be interested in pre-Roman calendar, lunar, says Samantha. Well, lots of stuff to come about that. Actually, if you haven't seen it, Samantha, I put together a very comprehensive article about how the Metonic cycle might have been calculated in ancient Ireland. Very, very comprehensive blog post, which I published on the website March of 2023. I'll just share the link to that. Perhaps that's something you might be interested in. And if there's anything that stems from that you want to ask on the next one, on the next episode, maybe do that. Ola says, okay, I'm good at Illustrator, but not the animating part. Yeah, you see, I've used Illustrator for years, although I'm not massively good at it. But I used Illustrator to make the map. I can't remember exactly how I animated it. I think I used a separate program called Shockwave Flash or something like that, or some program that created a Shockwave Flash animation. So everything was on different layers, and I created the animation on each one. Was you clicked an area that where you hovered, the animation would happen, that the icon would change and the text would appear. I just have a very, very little memory of how I actually did that, and I don't have that software anymore either. Rowan wonders if some of the Atlantean mythology is related to the inundation of Doggerland. Just thought, undoubtedly. I mean, look, many areas that were previously above water were flooded during the last ice age and in the latter parts of the last ice age. How we can connect that, first of all, to the mythological stories and more importantly to the archaeological record is a much greater problem, I think, you know. So I'm not quite sure, Lucas, what this is about. Radically different from Ulysses. Do you know it? How much an important role does folklore play there? I'm not quite sure what the full question is there. Erica in Ipswich is joining us. Wonderful as ever. Peace and blessings to all for 2024. Many happy returns, Erica. Hope it's a great year for you. I know that McAllister work on Tara features in Joyce's book. Yeah. Petrie, I think, was the one who started all that. Petrie's work on Tara was the real sort of one that, yeah. Anyway, I think we've probably exhausted most of the topics for tonight. I've enjoyed this ramble into the new year. Rivers in Time is saying, sorry I am so late. Happy New Year to you all. Well, many happy returns. And I hope that you had a nice solstice and Christmas and that 2024 brings much peace and prosperity and goodwill and all of that. And I'm sorry to say that we are finishing now. So apologies, I'm just switching on my heater. We're finishing up now. But, as always, the entire episode will be available to rewatch as soon as we finish live streaming. Sean says, I have to say, Lugh would be my favourite mythological hero, master of all the arts. He, for some reason, I gravitate to Lugh as well. I think part of that is because I live in County Louth, and the crest of County Louth has Lugh Samhail Dómach on it. Yeah, I also have a great admiration for. I like to think. I don't know. I like to think that if these gods were part of a pantheon who were worshipped, and these aren't just myths, that this is, these are traces of an ancient religion. I like to think that, the Tuatha Dé Danann were a little bit like Hinduism. You could believe in many gods, but you could pick your favorite. Am I right in saying that in Hinduism, you can kind of pick your favorite. You can latch on to one in particular that you identify with more than others. I mean, I think that's the perfect religion, actually. I'm agnostic, so I don't really believe in deities. I really believe in archetypes, psychological archetypes. But that, you're naturally drawn to the one that you have affinity with. You're naturally drawn to the deity you can identify with. Which is why there's, I believe, one of the many reasons there's a modern difficulty with monotheism, is the fact that the God of my monotheistic upbringing seemed to be a very angry and jealous guy. Reference the episodes we did about Answer to Job and C.G. Jung. Have a look at those if you want a further insight into what I'm saying. But yeah, Lugh is one of the ones I feel a particular affinity with. Amragin is another. He's not really a deity, but I think he's presented in such a form he's almost deified, It's sort of strange, says Brendan, that so many cultures around the world, God-like strangers arriving from above or on clouds. What is the thread that connects minds so far apart? I think those images are probably primordial, and I think they're probably to do with this Jungian collective unconscious. The idea of someone coming down from on high is coming down from the higher realms of consciousness, the higher realms of being. Whereas if you think of coming from under the earth, that's from the darkness, from the dark psyche, from the unconscious, I think it's kind of natural, actually, that people would envision their gods as having come, because they're kind of higher than, more elevated than us, as it were, And Moncon's next book will be on those connections. Another reason for everyone to go watch the new live episode on Anthony and Moncon says, Sean, the next one is going to be about, isn't it, the connections between Irish and Vedic mythology and language. It's going to be very interesting. Yes, I love the similarities between Vedic culture and ancient Ireland, says Sean. I love these ad hoc sessions very much, says Lexi. Let us pick your brain. Well, I think we let each other pick our brains, which is lovely. Wayne is heading off, and I'm going to head off presently because I'm going to have myself a dram. Try and get some sleep. Adele Perth, Sloan, thanks, Anthony and Tua. Much packing to be done. I'm moving next week and there's work to be done. Well, good luck with the move, Adele. Brilliant stuff. And what a way to start the new year, to be moving off somewhere else. Hope it's lovely. Hope you have a great time there. And we'll see you on the next one. Lucas, thank you for joining us and thank you for your comments. Until next time, says Tom King, take care out there. Yes, indeed. We would do maps and animations in Google Earth back in architecture school, says Desiree. Yeah, I think Google Earth's a fabulous tool. I'm sure many of you agree, but for archaeology and looking at alignments, it's brilliant. Thank you, Anthony, for this evening. Thank you, Nicole. Very glad to have had you joining us. Still recovering from Hogmanay, says River in Time. Well, I hope that recovery doesn't take too long. Samantha says, Anthony, I may be mistaken, but the stone pots that were on display at the British Museum, although not as old as Newgrange, the symbols were similar. I noticed that the triangle looked the same as in the passage lit up. That's something we must return to, Samantha, is talking about pottery and the designs thereon, because we are going to finish now, unfortunately. And I fear I have outworn my welcome, outlived, outstretched, out something my welcome. Thank you for a wonderful evening and Have a wonderful week, Anthony, and all the two. Thanks, Helena, and the same right back at you. Hope you have a great week. And Galactic says, there is so much we don't know and so little we do know. It's hard to speculate of things so ancient we have no way of knowing. We know of the younger Dryas, but yes, so right, Anthony, how do we connect? Yeah, and there's a lot of theories that have sort of gained acceptance and gained widespread following, which are very, very dodgy. You always have to be careful. I think the main thing is never to say anything with certainty. Say, this is possible, this is possible, this is possible. Here's the evidence for it. Here's the source. Here's the mythological source. Here's the archaeological data. Here's the historical reference. And build a case and say, look, this is what we can say. This is what we can't say, you know. Leslie O'Neill says, thank you. No bother. Always good to have an O'Neill in the room. The O'Neills descended from the great Nile of the 9 hostages and spread all over the world. Happy New Year, everyone. Happy New Year to you, Lexi. Many happy returns to you and all yours. Ulla, many happy returns to you also. Life begins in darkness, a child or pup in the womb, a seed germinating in the earth. Yes, indeed. And that idea of the seed or the kno beginning in darkness and rooting itself into the earth, Rowan, a big theme of Return to Segish. Yes, indeed. Deborah Gilbert says, inspirational, all the possibilities. That is why it continues to be fascinating. Because we don't know the answers and because it's a mystery. And when it ceases to be a mystery and when we know all the answers, it won't be interesting anymore. In my view, it'll always be interesting. Have a big dram and enjoy the rest of your evening, says River in time. I don't know what your real name is, by the way, but thank you very much. Hope you're subscribed to the YouTube channel, and we'll see you next time, which is Monday. All being equal, Monday is the usual live stream day. Kathy Maydeo says, oh, surprise, just saw you on. Happy New Year to and Mr. Anthony. My lunch is over, so saying hello. Have a wonderful week, all. You too, Kathy May. I'm finishing. So maybe when you get home later, you can watch back the entire episode. Anyway, Happy New Year to you. Hope 2024 is a good one for you and for all yours. Good night, everybody. Thanks for joining us. This has been Live Irish Myths. I'm Anthony Murphy. I hope you have a fantastic week. Looking forward to hopefully getting out with the camera and the drone over the next few days. As we say in ham radio, 7-3. All the best. Ichawa Kulasov, Slán go fóill, agus tóg go bugé. Take it easy.